Welcome to StarCraft 2. This is Eki. I've been playing a lot of 1v1 lately. I've been trying to learn how to play protoss, kind of with the latest campaign and all the changes they've made, like the crazy amount of drones or probes that you start with. Usually play as zerg. Anyways, let's get this started. So this is a strategy that kind of focuses mostly on templar, like dark and high templar. And making archons and basically building high templar or dark templar depending on how much gas you have, and trying to build units like that. I'll try to keep it on my camera here. This is just a replay of a game I just played, and I think this strategy can be really useful if I can focus and get my build order down and stuff. You'll see I'm not like super quick on getting my gateway up, and I'm probably falling behind on how many minerals I should have by now. So I'm definitely not like super pro or anything, but this is a good start to the game so far. Most of the 1v1s that I was playing, if I expanded too early, I ended up just getting rushed. So right here, I'm kind of debating whether or not I should expand, because I've got enough minerals to do so, but I end up deciding not, which ends up being a good idea because this dude that I'm playing against ends up rushing me. Not really rushing me, but has a pretty decent early game attack. And there's some kind of strategy here that I'll show you in a little bit when the kind of as we're fighting. Some of the micro that I do with the high templar and dark templar basically won the game for me. Like, I think I had less dudes than he does, but we'll see in a little bit as this keeps going. So I just built cybernetics core. I want to get that up kind of as soon as I can, because that basically unlocks all of the rest of the technologies to be able to start getting templar and stuff. I think this is probably when I build a stalker. Should probably build a stalker soon, because usually somebody will rush you with a, I don't know, ranged unit and try and micro you around. Like if I was playing against a Terran player right now, they'd probably send one of those little dudes. I forget what they're called. But yeah, as you can see, I don't really scout much either. Like, I don't really care. Like, I try to just kind of play as I play. I don't really try to win most of the time. I usually just try to do a strategy. So the strategy I'm working on here is like kind of focusing on using Templar to the max, essentially. But just kind of waiting along. So far he hasn't attacked me yet. I think he sends basically like one of his one of his scouts eventually shows up, and I find out what his race is. Oh yeah, you can see a little red blob on the mini-map there. And my stalker starts shooting at him. So there's a Zerg overlord, coming over to scout my base. Pretty sure my stalker will kill him. I don't even think I end up watching. Let's see if he ends up getting killed. Oh yeah. Good work, stalker. So now he's got one kill. I don't know if that actually does anything, but just kind of like a little interesting stat for the unit. So I've got a pretty small little army here, 2 zealots and a stalker. There's another stalker. This is a pretty decent amount of early game defense, and it looks like I got another stalker queued up here. Also researching the warp gates. That's a really important technology for the gateways here, so you can warp in dudes faster. But still haven't expanded yet. I don't really have enough minerals. Oh, it looks like I'm coming down now. To expand. Gonna build a nexus right when I get 400 here. Or not. There we go. So I'm not too quick on the draw there. Oh shit, and that's when I realize he's got a bunch of banelings and a couple zerglings out there. And I've only got 2 stalkers, so let's pause this for a second. I've got 3 zealots, 3 stalkers, 1 probe. He's got 2 zerglings and a big pile of banelings and shit over here too. So basically my strategy here is to kind of trickle my dudes down and try and keep them spread out so that he wastes all of his banelings. And then hopefully maybe like win this kind of first engagement in the game. If I had expanded early on, if I had built that nexus when I had wanted to early on in the game, this would be game over. Like the game would have been ended at this point, because his little attack force here would have cleared me out. So anyway, so let's see how this plays through. I'm trying to keep my dudes separated. Like I sent in just these few guys, and I sent these other 2 dudes in a little extra after. So that actually ended up working out pretty well. His baneling got wasted mostly just trying to take out those few units. So I barely survived that encounter. I have 1 zealot left and 1 stalker. My expansion's coming up, and it looks like he still has a couple banelings hiding in the corner over here. So let's keep on playing. Looks like I don't actually know that yet. You can see him on the mini-map down here. They're just hanging out. Probably once they spawn, he's probably going to send them over to my expansion. But yeah, my army is lacking severely right now. I still haven't noticed those banelings in the corner. Because if I had noticed them, I would have sent my stalker down there or something. Maybe he forgot about them too. Oh, here they come. Just running in through.
Let our enemy know.
Right, and then that's probably about when I figure it out, right? There it goes. So yeah, I put up a couple cannons there, and get another pylon. I'm doing pretty good on food. Got a huge pile of gas saved up, and my Dark Templar shrine is almost done here. So that's going pretty good. And then he sends in another attack force here. And now that my Dark Templar are up, basically I just need to spawn a few in. But first I got to get all my probes out of there. He's got his zerglings coming in. He notices I've got the shrine and tries to take it out. And so that's when I fucking spawn a Dark Templar right on there. So these Dark Templar are really good because they're basically cloaked. So Zerg needs to have a specific type of unit to be able to see these guys. And so what I assume at that point is that he has no like cloaking detection. So if he's gonna rush me, I'm just gonna rush him too, right? And at the same time try to reorganize my probes. I kind of piled them all up here by accident, or you know, to try and save them really. Alright, so doing some upgrades here. So I'm upgrading shields first, which I think a lot of people probably don't do. The reason I'm doing that is because the Archons are mostly like shield based, so I kind of like having them like a, you know, level 2 shield Archon like early on is can absorb a lot of damage, you know. But yeah, so I could just walk my Dark Templar right into their base, start killing their dudes. And he's got Evolution Chamber just built up there. So now he's got a pretty significant attack force. Oh man. He's got a bunch of roaches. He's got some like upgraded roaches, these Ravagers. This is like one of the new units. Basically like this amount of dudes versus, what do I have? I got 1 Dark Templar over here. I'm warping in 2 more Dark Templar here. I mean, I've got maybe 3 Dark Templar, and he's got like a lot more dudes. I wonder if we can see. Oh, cool. Yeah, let's do. units. Alright. So I've got 26 probes. So my income is a lot higher than his right now. And my I have 1 Dark Templar, 1 Stalker. He's got 10 Roaches, 3 Ravagers. I mean, I think if he was a little bit more aggressive, he probably should have attacked me with that pile of dudes, and maybe would have won. But looks like he's getting smarter now. So this Overseer, this type of unit, can see my Dark Templar. And the really cool part about High Templar is that they can kind of counter these Overseers. And I'll show you how that works in a little bit once he kind of attacks me again. But so yeah, at this point I'm kind of worried. Like, I think I'm gonna lose. I don't really have a big army. He really interrupted my kind of economy there for a little bit. But he spent so much resources trying to push me early on in the game, and I was able to build a bigger economy and, you know, fend him off with less units. And so I think that ends up paying off big time late in game. But still, at this point, I mean, our army strengths are very different. He's got a bunch of Zerglings popping up. I still only have 3 Dark Templar and 1 Stalker. And I'm like investing still in expansion, so I'm still investing in economy. I probably should have spent more into like building more gateways so I can pump out more dudes. But so far so good. I mean, I've got a pretty good, almost, you know, 2 full you know, bases with probes gathering stuff, and I've got a 3rd one on its way. Alright, let's pause this for a second. So he's got 14 Roaches, 3 Ravagers, 12 Zerglings, and these 2 Overseers here. So the Overseers will be able to see my Dark Templar once we kind of engage over here. And I've got some High Templar over here. I still haven't researched Psionic Storm yet. But they do have a feedback skill. And feedback works against magic, basically. And these guys, this pink bar here, purple bar, is energy, sorry. So feedback essentially does damage to the unit, 1 damage per point of energy. So these guys have 146 energy. This guy's got 151 energy. So when I use feedback on these 2 dudes, they're going to be really weak. And so I'll be able to, you know, take them out with ranged units, and then my Dark Templar will be able to clean up the rest. So that's the plan. Let's see how close I get to actually doing that. So at this point I'm like, alright, I'm kind of worried. Get my dudes together, send them down there. Let's see if I can get my High Templar to do something. No, I end up running away, and kind of biffing that a little bit. But as you can see there, the feedback got this guy down to 2 health. And his, you know, the other Overlord there is like really weak too. And basically those 2 skills, those 2 feedback right there, was enough for him to be afraid and retreat, right? And so now he's like worried. He's like not sure if he should attack me or not, because he knows I can kill his Overseers, and then my Dark Templar will clean him up. So again, like, the guy's got this huge army, almost catching up to my probe count. I've got 41, he's got 32. I have barely the amount of guys he does, but he can't really touch me because I've got all my bases covered. So yeah, here I kind of spend a little money to get some defenses up. you know, because I figure at this point I've got the economy advantage, so I should kind of turtle up a little bit and try to, you know, spit out some more dudes. But obviously the Zerg doesn't give me that chance and attacks my base there. And so at this point I'm like, I wish I had Psionic Storm, but I didn't. But there is when the High Templar just feedbacked all of his overseers. So right now my Dark Templar are just chewing up all these roaches, and the roaches can't even see them. And so eventually he kind of figures that out and, you know, retreats.
Research complete.
Which is good. So let's see. Now what's the army count look like? So he's got 9 roaches
From the shadows.
and 2 zerglings. So I just took out like pretty much his entire army. Still have all of my High Templar. They're all just hanging out, gaining energy, so that I can Psionic Storm later. And I'm just pumping out Dark Templar and High Templar. That's all I'm doing. Probably made a few Zealots here and there with their charge upgrade.
From the shadows I come.
But generally at this point, I'm probably going to start making some Archons soon. Getting in an Overseer just in case they want to, you know, use some Lurkers or something. Get that set up. So yeah, my 3rd base is coming along pretty good. I've got my 2 main bases are doing well. You can see this guy just made a bunch of swarm hosts. I didn't know that at this point, obviously, when I was playing. But they don't they don't really tend to make much of a difference once I've got Psionic Storm. And so you can see my fucking army's starting to really build up here. I've got 14 Dark Templar, 1 per roach. So even if, you know, his Overseer was there, I don't know if a Dark Templar would win against a roach. Probably would. But yeah. Either way, it's maybe a little too much. But it doesn't matter because I might as well just keep pumping them out. And then basically if a Zerg wanted to go air, like if he decided, like, you know, to counter my kind of ground dominance right now, I would just turn all of my dudes into Archons, which is what I'm doing right now. So right here, this is where I realize all these Banelings that the Zerg is spawning will ruin my Dark Templar. Like one of these Banelings could take out like all these Dark Templar. So at that point I'm like, alright, let's retreat. You know, my Dark Templar advantage is no longer any good, so let's turn them all into Archons. And so now, this is when kind of the big engagement happens. He's got his swarm hosts are all hanging out somewhere in here. He's got a huge pile of roaches. All of my Dark Templar are currently being spawned into Archon. But I've got 4 Archons and 6 High Templar versus 19 roaches, 7 Banelings, 7 swarm hosts, and these locusts are little temporary dudes. You'll see, let's see. These locusts are what the swarm hosts spawn and kind of shoot at your dudes. So let's see how this plays out. My first Psionic Storm was a little misplaced, but it's alright. Still was able to clear out all those kind of trash there. And good thing I had the Observer, so that I could see all these swarm hosts here. So I just drop a few Psionic Storms on top of them. I've got these 2 Archons are still alive, just, you know, cleaning up house. And now my Dark Templar are done forming their Archons, so they come in for a little bit of reinforcements. And pretty much at this point, it's like, that's the game. Padilla was defeated. Eki was victorious. Still had a High Templar who could have dropped a few Psionic Storms. But yeah, so that's the kind of High Templar, Dark Templar strategy. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time.